So Mayor Durkin has a choice. She can stand with struggling renters and extend the eviction moratorium through this year and prevent what economists are predicting, which is a nationwide tsunami of evictions if the moratoriums are revoked, or represent corporate landlords. Our rally on June 24th will demand that Durkin stand with the community and extend the eviction moratorium through the end of 2021. Yesterday afternoon, my office staff was proud to join with 125 other demonstrators on Harbor Island to protest the arrival of an Israeli cargo ship, the Zim San Diego, which came to Seattle on June 2nd has been waiting to unload its cargo. The Harbor Island action to block the boat is part of a growing international movement of labor and community activists. Please look on Twitter's hashtag block the boat. Began last month with dock workers in South Africa refusing to handle a Zim ship to protest the Israeli state's repression of the Palestinian people. Thanks to the community organizing of Palestinians, a Seattle-based grassroots collective of Palestinian feminists, along with the solidarity of members of the ILWU, the Longshore Workers Union, the ship has not been unloaded. The Seattle action comes in the wake of tremendous community and labor solidarity in Oakland, California, where a community and worker coalition led by the Arab Resource and Organizing Center, AROC, again with critical solidarity from Longshore Union members, successfully blocked an Israeli Zim ship on June 4th after 17 days of delaying the ship from attempting to dock. As Jimmy Salami, a brother and Palestinian rank and file worker and ILWU Local 10 member in Oakland said, quote, "An injury to one is an injury to all. Just as ILWU Local 10 workers refused to unload cargo from apartheid South Africa in the 1980s, we honored community pickets asking us not to unload cargo from Israeli Zim vessels," end quote. Last month, the Palestine General Federation of Trade Unions issued an important appeal to unions in the United States. They wrote, quote, "We call on our friends and all the freedom-loving people in the world to do what they can to stop this aggression and Israeli racist policies which remind us of those used by the apartheid South Africa regime that was defeated by the steadfastness of the African people. The Palestinians are facing the same racist practices carried by the right-wing Israeli government," end quote. Among the solidarity that the Palestinian labor movement has urged is that U.S. labor union members refuse to unload the Zim ships. As I said to the May 16th rally in downtown Seattle organized by Palestinians, quote, "International solidarity is crucial. What's even more important is a united movement of working class people in Israel and Gaza and the West Bank against the Israeli ruling class's policies," end quote. The role of organized labor in building international solidarity, as numerous historical examples demonstrate, will be decisive if we are to end the occupation. So it is crucial that members of the Longshore Workers Union have stood alongside the movement and have refused to unload the Zim ship. My office and my organization, Socialist Alternative, will continue to join with the community at protests at the Port of Seattle to ensure that the Zim ship's cargo is not unloaded. Most important will be coordinated actions by union workers globally, especially inside the U.S. and inside Israel, to refuse to load and unload arms shipments. In fact, Zim is Israel's largest cargo shipping company, often dealing in Israeli manufactured military technology, armaments, and logistics equipment, which is why the Palestinian collective has correctly decided to engage in the Block the Boat campaign. We need all socialists and the labor movement in the United States to stand up clearly in support of this historic struggle with the Palestinian people and to demand an end to U.S. administration's shameful and decades-long policies of diplomatic support and arms and weapons and military support for the Israeli system of apartheid. Related to our office's solidarity with this international movement to block the vote, my council office will shortly be introducing legislation to ban the Seattle Police Department from engaging in training with Israeli military and police. Amnesty International has documented the common practice of Israeli forces training U.S. police, including police and departments like Seattle and Baltimore, that have been found by the U.S. Justice Department to have a pattern of violating the civil and constitutional rights of community members. Coming on the one-year anniversary of the police murder of George Floyd, it's important to note that over the years, police from Seattle to Minneapolis to New York have all been involved in training with Israeli military and police. We absolutely must put an end to this deadly exchange. Police from more than 30 states and the District of Columbia have participated in these training sessions in recent years, and as recently as 2015, Seattle police made training trips to Israel according to the End the Deadly Exchange, a national organization of activists. While we've been told that there are no current plans for Seattle police to have personnel trained with Israeli military or police, we know that has happened in the past and want to make sure that it never happens again as long as Israel brutalizes the Palestinian people. My office is working with community members on the legislation, and I greatly appreciate the work of Greg Doss on central staff in drafting. I welcome the co-sponsorship of the legislation by other council members, and if you have any questions, please contact my staff, Jonathan Rosenblum, and I also wanted to thank council members Herbold and Mosqueda, who signed the letter along with me to the U.S. Congress and to President Biden a few weeks ago. Finally, on the struggle in solidarity with the Palestinian people, I wanted to congratulate MAPS Amen, the American Muslim Empowerment Network, for organizing the full-page ad that appeared this weekend in the Seattle Times. I was proud to sign on, as was my organization, Socialist Alternative. The open letter noted the continued Israeli state violence against the Palestinian people and the fact that the Israeli state receives $3.8 billion a year in U.S. aid. The open letter, this was published in the Seattle Times as an ad, in the full-page ad, called on Congress to support H.R. 2590, a congressional resolution to prohibit Israeli state from using U.S. taxpayer dollars for the military detention and abuse of Palestinian children. It also prohibits using U.S. tax dollars for the seizure and destruction of Palestinian property in violation of international law or for further unilateral annexation of Palestinian territory in violation of international law. Thank you.